And now, GB News can exclusively reveal today that the majority of those, the huge majority, in fact, of those crossing the channel are men of fighting age. Well, a bombshell new report seen exclusively today by GB News for Stand Up for Our Sovereignty and Facts for EU has found that out of 38,000 illegal small boat migrant arrivals recorded up until March, an astonishing 87% of them were male. Now, this is despite this bold claim from Treasury Minister Darren Jones earlier this year.
And when you see that the majority of the people in these boats are children, babies and women who have been...
No, they're not.
No, you have got to take... No, look, I get this is...
North of 90% of them are adult men.
Let me be... No.
Meanwhile, back in the real world, seriously, has this latest report revealed the true extent of Labour's delusion when it comes to the crisis in the Channel? Well, joining me now to discuss this report is the Director of Communications at the Campaign for Independent Britain, Ben Phillips. And I'm also joined for analysis in the studio by GB News' Home and Security Editor, Mark White. And, of course, GB News' Political Editor, Chris Hope. Gentlemen, welcome all. Ben, I'm going to start with you. An incredible set of data which completely torpedoes the notion that this is women and children. You've got a bunch of graphics to go through with us. Let's start at the top. Over to you.
Absolutely. Well, we've divided this data up, Martin, in terms of gender, age and geography. So the first one that we're going to look at is the breakdown between men and women. And look at that. It's absolutely astonishing. 87% of all males on the illegal boats are 87% of the migrants coming over are male, just 13% female.
So straight away, Darren Jones has been proven to be living in fantasy land.
Absolutely.
What's the next chart you've got?
So the next chart, that breaks down the age component of those male asylum seekers. And you'll see that the fighting age males, 18 to 39, over 25,000, nearly 26,000 of them aged 18 to 39, a mere 5,900, either boys, men over the age of 39 or old men.
So it's 81.4% are men of fighting age. And by the way, how many of those under 18s are actually not under 18? I guess we'll never know. But certainly a lot of these young lads seem to have full beards and they're about 6 foot tall. Yep. So that's the second one. It's 81.4% those of fighting age, aged 18 to 34. Again, torpedoing the illusion that these boats are crammed full of women, children and babies. What's your next chart?
So the next one that we've got is about the geographical breakdown, and this is the three countries where you're almost certainly likely to get to be granted asylum. And look at that, Syria, Sudan and Yemen, hardly the most salubrious places to come from. 99% of all of those coming from Syria, a war-torn country, are likely to be granted asylum. 98% from Sudan and similarly 98% from Yemen.
So ostensibly, let's be brutal about this. We have open borders with Syria, Sudan and Yemen. If you get to these shores, you have an absolutely infinitesimally small chance of ever being returned because, of course, they're deemed unsafe countries. Never mind the fact that we may be importing some pretty unsafe men. Yep. We're stuck with them the moment they land on British shores. That's what this says.
It is, and the consequences, Martin, are disastrous economically. These are not brain surgeons or architects or engineers. So from an economic point of view, it's a disaster. Domestically, of course, it's extremely dangerous as well. We've got segregated communities and rising domestic crime, and also from a geopolitical point of view as well, in terms of national security.
And I think you've got one final chart which shows us the nationalities most likely to be on these boats. I wonder if we have that one. It's the bar chart.
There we are, yes. 20 nationalities of 82 of those who are coming into this country, and it is a similarly depressing list of countries, if I may say so. Leading the pack is Afghanistan, 5,766 from there, Syria, Eritrea, Iran, Sudan, Vietnam, all the way down to occupied Palestine.
OK, Ben Phillips, thank you very much. A hugely sobering tranche of data there, and one, again, just to repeat, that absolutely flies in the face of that ludicrous, baseless, farcical claim by Darren Jones that it was mostly women, babies and children.
Have you had a random call lately from a strange number, maybe trying to sell you something or even scam you? If so, your info could be out there. That's because of data brokers, shady companies that scrape the internet for your personal details and sell them to marketers or even scammers. These days, scammers can even use AI to mimic your friends' voices and trick you into sending money. It's not just annoying, data brokers often target vulnerable people with high interest loans or sketchy offers. But there is a solution. Incogni, the sponsor of this video. Incogni contacts data brokers on your behalf and requests your info be deleted from their databases. And because your data can keep popping up, Incogni keeps sending removal requests to make sure it stays gone. They've just launched a new unlimited plan with custom removals. If you find your info on a weird website, just send them the link and their privacy team will work to get it taken down. Getting started is easy. Hit the link in the description, create your account and let Incogni handle the rest. It's risk-free for 30 days and you'll get 60% off an annual plan with the code GBNews. Take back control of your data with Incogni.
Mark White, let's bring you in now. To be fair, in defence of Darren Jones, he later claimed he wasn't referring to all the boats at all. That's what he said, right?
He may be saying that, but it was a ridiculous statement to make if that was actually his view, that he had seen one particular boat where the majority of people were women and children, to then be challenged on it, as he was by Zia Yusuf, and to double down on that, only later to acknowledge that he had misspoken. But it's interesting because drilling down into the figures, what it shows actually in terms of the male population of those crossing by small boats is it's actually got more significant since this crisis began, from what it was in 2018 to what it is now. It was in the high 70s to begin with in those early years. It's now actually, as we've seen, the latest data set, up to 87% are male. And of course, that's just to March this year. So we don't know exactly what the data set after that will show. It's interesting as well, I think, to drill down on the nations. And we know, of course, that if you are from countries like Syria or Sudan, you're likely, very likely, to be granted asylum. But even if you're not granted asylum, if you're from a myriad of other countries, you're still staying in the UK because what you're then given is indefinite leave to remain because it's deemed too unsafe to return you. There's no way that a court would ever allow you to be returned to that particular country. But of course, looking again at some of the nations represented, Vietnam. Where's the war in Vietnam? There wasn't the last time I was lying on the beach down in Vietnam having a lovely old time. India as well. You know, many other countries where there is not an issue in terms of there being an immediate threat to life. But of course, these people may well argue there's something unsafe, inherently unsafe about their life back there, which will ensure that they too get leave to remain in the UK.
Chris Hope, let's bring in you now. This is just a political nightmare for the Labour government and I hate to add the previous government, but this is the latest set of data. They can't keep trying to pull the wool over the eyes of the British public anymore about this. The facts are the facts and the facts go against their narrative. And by the way, where's the Prime Minister? Where is Keir Starmer? Don't you think we've got a pretty big emergency going on now with what's going on outside hotels, what's going on in terms of criminality, and the mega thingy that Mark White reported on yesterday, to me, was just an absolute aberration. It's terrifying.
They're doing limited changes. I mean, even just yesterday, they did say they will publish, or look at publishing. Dame Diana Johnson told GB News, of course, the Home Office Minister, they will look at publishing the immigration status of people who are charged with crime at the charging point, not before that. We challenged Number 10 on Monday. Has Sir Keir Starmer been down to Epping, been to the families living next door to the Bell Hotel? That's what, to be fair to Kemi Badenoch, she was there. But it is frustrating, I think, that the Tories haven't really got the political space for doing any change here. We saw over the past couple of days, Chris Philp, the Shadow Home Secretary, he's been in northern France. Robert Jenrick, the Shadow Justice Secretary, he's been there too. You're rolling your eyes, Martin, if you listen to the radio.
I just don't think we should treat these people seriously. I'm really, really sorry when I say say that. Like, I've met them both. They've been in here. You know, they're obviously very competent parliamentarians, but they had their chance to close the borders, and now they're faffing around making TikTok videos.
I completely agree with you. Not once during their tenure in office did either man go anywhere near the migrant crisis in France. Not just that, but they are now criticising the French police for doing nothing to actually impact the trade in criminality across the English Channel. They, not the Labour government, but they, during their time in office, were the ones that gave the French more than £500 million.
So I want to
never once criticised them for the efforts they were making in the Channel.
I would ask why that happens. Is it that when they're ministers, they haven't got time? Is it that when they're ministers, officials don't want them to do that? Because it would radicalise a minister doing that. Well, I remember vividly when Lee Anderson, when he was a Tory MP on the Home Affairs Committee, he went to the beaches, didn't he, and made films there, and our eyes, the scales fell off our eyes, really, and he was appalled by it. I think that when you've got time and opposition, you can do it. What it needs is, though, these MPs, when they become ministers, and it could be Reform next time, or the Tories again, they've got to be energetic about getting to the heart of the problem and not put up with what being told by officials.
How many times have we seen our Prime Minister jetting off around the world to glad hand with politicians in other nations?
He needs to do both.
Why can't they make time to go across just the other side of the Channel? 22 miles, Chris, that's all it is. Get on the other side of the Channel and see what's happening there day in, day out.
There's only one guy, though, he's running the country. He's got to do deals to get... They're doing all they can. They're putting levers all they can with these bilateral
What about
deals.
recalling Parliament to have an emergency sitting about Gaza? What about Epping? What about Canary Wharf? What about Dover? What about this national border security disaster that we've got? Where are they? That's my point. That's what millions of people are saying out there. They're missing in action, or they're in Dover in Calais making TikTok videos.
Well, that's the opposition leaders, and of course, the Tories, Waterlooville last night with Suella Braverman, Epping with Kevin Badenoch. The Tories are doing the hard yards now when they can in opposition. Why not do it when they have the levers of power?
OK, gentlemen, an excellent start to you. I've been told we must move on. Well, joining me now is Baroness Diane Hayter, the former Labour Deputy Leader of the House of Lords. Baroness Hayter, you may have heard us there getting a bit heated, but I just wanted to say, do you know, where is Keir Starmer? She's been missing in action.
Well, he's not missing in action. I'm absolutely delighted. What he's doing is rallying the French, the Germans and others to try and persuade Trump to actually do the right thing about Russia. I mean, we talk about these other countries. One of the most unhappy countries, but also the one of a threat to European security, is Russia. And he is absolutely full out doing that. I mean, I think there are other issues to discuss about asylum seekers. But the idea that our Prime Minister, at this time when he's to be going forward to be down in Epping,
Baroness Hayter, you're kind of making my point for me. He's more interested in Ukraine and Russia than he is in securing our borders. Keir Starmer won't have any impact whatsoever. What happens between Vladimir Zelensky and Donald Trump? None.
Absolutely wrong. Absolutely wrong. If you want to destabilise a few more countries and have more people wanting asylum here, then let Putin overrun Ukraine and other countries, and there'll be even more asylum seekers. Because what I want to say...
The border disaster predates the Ukraine war.
No, Ukraine, if that gets destabilised, if Russia wins there will be a lot of instability. There will be more people wanting to fled westwards. And can I just mention, I mean, where this crosses over with what you've been discussing is if you look at the countries that you've mentioned, Afghanistan, Syria, Sudan, Yemen, what they all have in common is that these are very unstable countries. If you're of fighting age, you are very threatened by their governments if you fail to fight for them. And that is why I'm not saying this necessarily...
Why is that our problem? Why is that our problem?
I'm not saying, can I just try and finish? If those are the people where they are being, in a sense, pushed out of their country, no wonder they're coming to our borders. We now have the issue of whether we should take them. That is a different one. But if we don't understand the push factors, which, as I say, if Putin has his way around Europe, there will be even more of this. And that is absolutely the right thing for our Prime Minister to do. And as one of you have just been saying, one of your commentators, of course the shadow ministers have got time to go down and visit these places at the moment. Our ministers at the, have absolute real decisions to be taken, particularly over the security of the Middle East as well as over Ukraine, which is incredibly important, and they're also working on that. But I mean, that's a different issue. But that is, almost a throwaway line that one of you said.
Baroness Hayter, please. We're trying to talk about a domestic emergency. That's what people are thinking this is now. We're seeing crime going through the roof. We're seeing protests outside hotels. The temperature of the nation is as precipitous as it was last summer when Sir Keir Starmer called people far right. And my point is exactly this. He's much more comfortable dealing with foreign politicians and foreign policy than dealing with a domestic dog's dinner.
Well, that's wrong. He's not comfortable. It's what it needs to do. Secondly, crime isn't going up. Be careful what GB News is saying. The more you say crime is going up, the more people get frightened of crime. The overall crime statistics, as you must know, come on, you're well briefed.
Overall crime. Let's talk about sex crime. Let's talk about sex crime.
No,
that's not going down.
As you know.
Let's talk about sex crime committed by foreign nationals. That's not going down. That's back to this issue. We can all cherry pick data, Baroness Hayter.
Most sex crime is by white males who live here. Most women who are attacked sexually is by people. Very often they know them.
Capita.
But what you're doing is,
of course it is. We're a white nation.
Fear. You are fueling fear. You are taking a few cases, which I am not excusing, and you're making those as if that was sort of a national crisis, of all women.
And may
women
I say,
are vulnerable to violence, but not on the whole for migrants.
But what you're doing now, classically, you're shooting the messenger and ignoring the message. There's a huge amount of concern about crime in the country, and we can't just sit there and go, oh, no, you're all wrong. No, you're all wrong.
No, I said you're fueling it. If you say it's going up, or if you say the biggest crisis...
If the Labour Party solves it, there'll be no conversation. If we close our borders, this might go away. If we deal with that and not Ukraine, we might get somewhere.
The majority of crime is not done by migrants. The majority of attacks on women are not done by migrants.
Proportionately.
And there we do have to do something. Remember when we got into office, the prisons were full. The last government had so invested in prisons. We didn't even have enough place to put, people who were being taken to court at that moment into prison.
Yeah, now they're being released.
That we had. So I think you have to be very careful that one doesn't take very, very difficult issues that have happened, and I'm not excusing anything that has happened, but if you take those and think that is a national crisis throughout the UK, rather than actually a small in number, the high in serious issue, then I think you're not doing justice to how we can approach the very real question you're putting, because the very real question is, because we are so...
How do we stop this? I would say to you with respect, and anybody from Parliament, whatever party, listen to this, underestimate the public concern about this at your peril. You can say that we're revving this up. Are you really understanding how frustrated and sick to the back teeth the British public is of being told, oh, you're far right, stop revving it up? People are furious.
And that is that's part of the reason, partly because it's the right thing to do. Somebody said that why is Keir Starmer talking to foreign leaders? It's because he's managed to get the Germans to do more now about stopping all those boats being kept in Germany, because he's managed to get Macron to do an agreement there.
By the end of the year, they might arrest a few people who've got dinghies in a warehouse.
But they're doing it. I mean, the idea that you sit back and say there's nothing we can do about it, the boats are going to continue to come, isn't that awful?
50,700 plus since the Labour Party came into power. It's getting worse.
And those boats were already there and were lining up on the coast. We have to take action. We have to stop the boats. We have to make sure that we can return people. We have to stop people being able to land here and automatically be housed here. That is what we are trying to do. But we have had a government in for 14 years that allowed all this to happen. And everyone is expecting within 12 months, we have turned this around. We've got the other countries to act. We've got the people in place already to catch the gangs. We are doing it. And it is serious. And that's why we're taking action.
Thank you for joining us, and thank you. It's a robust exchange of views, but thank you for your tolerance. You know, we just care about our country, and I apologise if I was being a bit inflammatory. I really appreciate your time. Thank you.